1420 WEMB Sports Radio.
Never know how.
Yep.
And I always, was hoping to one day ride the derby and to win it. And it's done today. So I'm really happy and blessed.
That was Bill Mott. That was Bill Mott, who spoke to reporters after his horse Country House won a Kentucky Derby when the original winner was disqualified. He says winning the Kentucky Derby was a dream come true, and I remember when there was talking about the interference that gave Country House the 65-1 long shot, the Kentucky Derby roses, if you will. I remember when the objection was out there watching the race, he was saying essentially, wanted to be non-committal, that sort of thing. But yes, it would be great to win the Kentucky Derby, even on an objection for the first time in the 145-year history of the race. Here's also what Pratt had to say about the interference that gave his horse the victory.
The two horses inside of me had a lot of more trouble than I did, but it affected me anyway.
Here's the thing. Everyone is saying that this interference call on maximum security, not only did it risk the lives of the horses, which has been a major concern, as everybody knows. I mean, it's something that I think, you used to hear these calls, ban boxing. We would now hear concern. I do think those calls have really hurt the sport. Who follows boxing anymore? So that Hayden Panettiere got into a fight with her, let's see, where there was some sort of domestic dispute with her boyfriend. I was like, she's not married to Vladimir Klitschko again? Wait a minute, wait a minute. Who was isn't she still the heavyweight champion's bride? I mean, that was basically my take on that. And anyhow, we now heard, in football, long knives were out for that a couple of years ago. The war on football, it's going to give everyone concussions and CTE, and you should not play football anymore. It will be banned, this sort of football isn't going to be banned. Now, I don't know if in 200 years they're going to play it. They'll play it in 20. Or you'd see Sports Illustrated and they do this graphic with Peyton Manning and Roger Goodell holding a coffin for the NFL. This is how football would go out of fashion. Slate. There's an article on there. This is how the death of football could happen. They make a good argument. It actually, it says, it would come, the Northeastern high schools would stop playing it. And to a certain extent, I think that we do see some things. New York is the second most populated state in the country. It is not one of the 20 most prolific states for producing football players, despite the popularity of, say, the Giants, the Jets, the Bills, and to another extent, I don't know, Syracuse or Army, or, now maybe Army doesn't have the same fan base that Tennessee does or Virginia Tech, but these are viable, popular college football programs. The Ivy League is a viable, popular college football conference. It's not the Big Ten. It's viable and popular. Now, that being said, New York, they watch football there a lot. But they don't necessarily produce the players, and I do think that maybe that is because, let's face it, culture up there, upstate New York, depending on where you go, it's going to border Vermont, New England, or New York City, to Rudy Giuliani aside, they elected Bill de Blasio their mayor. I mean, this is not necessarily a culture that is going to produce football players over basketball players. Heck, New York University years ago dropped their basketball program. Even that was, we should not be in the business of corruption in sport. We should be above that. It was that sort of culture. You don't have that in East Tennessee or Ohio or a lot of places. Okay, so we get to that. But what we were talking about after this Kentucky Derby and before it really was, is this going to be the death of horse racing because so many horses have died at Santa Anita? And so we needed a good Kentucky Derby to bring back the interest. Maybe a Triple Crown. I've always thought that maybe Triple Crown winners were overrated because by the time you got to, let's say, the Belmont, and you had a horse that had won 2 races, the odds on him, you weren't going to make any money betting on him. But otherwise, it's the Belmont Stakes. That's still big. Let's see who won. Will it be the one that won one of the previous 2 Derby, Triple Crown races? Either the Derby or the Preakness? Who will it be? So that sort of thing. All right. The thing about what had taken place, and it's real simple here. Maximum security. Yeah, I know that some people were saying maybe this was not going to ultimately influence the race, but what it was going to do was jeopardize the health of the horses and the jockey that was riding the other horses. And that's why the objection was raised. And that's why the victory was taken away. No, the best horse may not have won, but the best horse won dirty. Hey, I don't know, Albert Bell at one time was the best hitter in baseball. But if he was corking his bat, or for that matter, Barry Bonds certainly was the best player in baseball. But if he he didn't cork his bat, but if he used PEDs, yeah, that is a little bit, Now, there are critics. Trainer Jason Service, of Maximum Security, you think he might object to the finish? He seemed to have won the Kentucky Derby before being disqualified upon review, and he spoke to Marty Smith after the race. Service explains what he saw on the replays.
It looked like he came out a little bit on the one horse, that the one horse had to steady a little, but that was all I saw. He bothered one horse a little bit.
Bill Mott, meanwhile, said, hey, the stewards had a tough choice.
The stewards had a very, very difficult decision. I mean, I'm glad I wasn't in their shoes. I'm glad I didn't have to make the decision in front of over 100,000 people and the millions of people that are watching this on TV and around the world.
Mott, of course, he's country horse, the Derby Champions trainer. Here's the thing. I keep hearing this. This would have been called a disqualification. This would have been an objection. This race would have been overturned in any other race. So why not the Kentucky Derby? There is a feeling, I guess, that, and that is, why are the rules so much different? Now, I mean, if I can use other sports, what was it, Doug Sermons, when he called the technical on ETSU about 10 years ago in the ASUN semifinals. And I was they called that. At that point, there were 19 seconds left, and the call decided the game for Belmont. Or at least had a major factor in them winning. Sonny Smith was on the call of color. You could see, really didn't agree with it. I loved Murray Bartow because he went berserk. And he very emphatically, he chased the officials down to the locker room after that call. What are you doing? It had cost ETSU their season. And there is something of an unwritten rule. Don't call a technical at that point. But then again, if you can't call a technical with 19 seconds left, when can you call it, I guess, is one philosophy. Again, I did remember, I was saying, they are calling a technical on that, then a player had swung his elbow. But really, that with the game on the line, in hockey, there is long been a belief that you swallow your whistle, let's say in the last 5 minutes, or if you got to call it, how about a make-up call? I can remember once, this is a long time ago, but watching a hockey game where a major penalty, 5-minute major, was called with 5 minutes and a second left. And it was everything that they could do to find a 2-minute penalty so that there would be a chance for the other team to play at even strength. Instead of, and the team was down by a goal, is what I should point out. So, think about that. And so, anyhow, there is that belief. I am of the belief, look, if this was an objection, if you had maximum security going across the paths, interfering, possibly some people could be, killed. Cheating is cheating. And what goes for, I don't know, some, September race at Penn National, maiden race or something, why doesn't that go with the Kentucky Derby? Why not? I mean, come on. For all I complain about baseball, and I think the changes of baseball are putting the mustache on the Mona Lisa, still the Mona Lisa underneath it. You ever notice this? I know that strike zones vary from umpire to umpire, but still, safe at second in the World Series is safe at second on opening day. Foul ball on game number 123 is a foul ball in game number 62. So, especially when you had lives at stake, why wouldn't that be the case at the Kentucky Derby? And don't give me, I heard somebody try to say a bigger field and all that. Please. Please. Then that goes down a slippery slope of, well, this race had 7 horses in it, so we must call it differently than races that have, let's say, 10. That would be the natural progression of things. I don't think that's healthy at all. Question now, I do think, and they say they'll be talking about this forever, maximum security in country house. Well, wait 1 second here. Why isn't there more than just a statement given to the media? That's all the stewards have done. They haven't discussed why and the wheres. Shouldn't they do that for more information and to help the sport promote it at a time when it needs the promotion? When it needs to be thought of, okay, this is horse racing strategy, when that needs to come out to the forefront. Not making a more exhaustive comment, not backing up their decision, that's what's going to hurt horse racing, not this decision.
Fancy terms like